Hey there everybody, how's it going? I hope everything's good. This is BigBadWolfMoto. Just coming out from this place called Salaberry, the Valley Field. There we go, beautiful water. Gotta love the water. And until I get to my next little adventure, I was thinking of sharing a few things with you about how I started to ride motorcycles. My exposure to motorcycles started very early in my life, but not as a rider. Even though my father was riding a bike, and my grandfather from my mother's side though was riding a bike, and very often I found myself riding on the back of their bikes. My father didn't really want us to be involved with motorcycles early on, like in our teens, for example. I remember most of my friends had scooters, but even though we had a little bit of money of our own, my father was adamant about it. He didn't want us to own a bike. And I understand him from one point of view, because I grew up on a beautiful Greek island, and especially in the 80s and 90s, the roads were not that good. I'm not even sure there was asphalt on all the roads at that time. I think not. I think a lot of the roads were still concrete. So anyway, so I knew very early that I'm not allowed to have my own motorcycle. So of course, hanging out with my friends, the ones of us that didn't have bikes, many times we were riding with our best friends' bikes, and we were having fun, you know. I would get in the back of my friend's bike, and then we would ride somewhere. On the way back, I would drive, and so on and so forth. So learning how to ride was not a problem. Then the more we were getting close to finishing high school, almost 17, 18 years old, some of the guys got bigger bikes, and we started riding different things, more serious motorcycles, like some super sports, a few cruisers, lots of dirt bikes. Then after high school finished and I went to the army, I was living away from home by myself for about 2 years. That was actually my first time away from home, right after high school. So being in the army, I was serving at an island which was on the eastern part of Greece. So over there, because of the fact that I was an officer, I had my own apartment and my own life. So my parents, for the first time, were not involved knowing what I do on an everyday basis, the way it is when you live with them. And don't take me wrong, I love my parents. I adore my parents. I have the greatest parents in the world. And I miss them so much, but that's a different story. So being in the army, it was the time that for the first time I could have a bike secretly, of course. And I did. One of my friends, who happened to be a kid of a pretty rich family, and he was changing bikes the way I change socks. He had a Honda Rebel 250 that he was treating brutally, parking it outside, always dirty, whatever. Basically, I don't even know why he had that bike, the way he was treating it. So at a certain point, this guy wants to get a Super Sport to start racing and going fast and all, and this is something that he did, and didn't turn out very good, but again, that's another story. So basically, the guy gave me the Rebel, and the bike was barely 2 years old. So I ended up with my little cruiser, of course, secretly for my family. I was using that bike to go back and forth to my unit while I was in the army. Sometimes I was going out at night. Basically, it became my primary medium of transportation, because of course at that time I didn't have a car, and I was using it to go back and forth. The best part about it is that I didn't even own a helmet at that time. Those different times. Those were so different times. I didn't have a helmet. I didn't have a driver's license. I didn't have anything. How I never got in trouble to this day, I don't even know. Anyway, that was my first experience riding my own motorcycle. After that, after I finished with the army, I didn't take it with me. I just chose to give it to somebody else. My parents didn't know about it anyway, so I gave it away to a friend. And I was thinking of getting another bike, something more serious, something bigger, but I realized at that time that I was into cruisers. So I finished with the army, I went back home, and soon after that I headed to Canada to study. And all this time I was so busy working in restaurants and studying that it didn't even cross my mind to have a bike, especially in Canada with the snow and the winter. For me, it wasn't even an issue getting a bike. I knew that there was no point for me to get a bike, and I decided that when I return to Greece, I'm going to see what I'm going to do about this. So when I returned to Greece, I returned to Greece married. I got into working very hard. I got into the family business. Then I started running the family business. Work, 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 and family. Then my daughter was born. And to make the long story short, for a good period of time, I didn't even think of getting a bike. But after the year 2000 and 2001 and 2 and 3, I started thinking about it. At that point, at least, I could afford to have a serious motorcycle of my own, and I didn't have to have anybody's permission. Now I was a man with my own family, and all my parents would have to do would be just to give their blessing, not their permission. So around the year 2007, I started looking at a number of bikes, including a number of Harley-Davidsons, a couple of my very close friends owned Harleys. Two of them, they had them up and running for a while, and the third one had one from the 90s that he had in the garage, hadn't touched it for years. So I had an opportunity to ride a couple of those, and I decided that I want to have a Harley. So in the year 2008, I found a great opportunity. I found my Softail, 1997, with barely 9,000 miles. The bike was almost 11 years old, owned by an older gentleman that had it taken care of in his garage, and he was taking a little ride every once in a while. So as you can imagine, the bike was in mint condition, and he sold it to me for basically half of its normal price. So it was a very good deal. So I got my Softail in 2008. I modified the bike, I changed a few things on it. I even had 3 different sets of gas tanks and fenders and everything in different colors. So whenever I was getting bored, instead of painting the bike, I was changing the fenders and the gas tank, and it was a whole new different bike. I loved that bike. I traveled around Europe with it. I traveled around Greece with it, and created amazing memories. Then my wife at that time, who's now an ex-wife, decided that she wanted to ride on my side and not behind me. So we started thinking of getting a second bike, and we decided to buy a Harley-Davidson Street Bob. What a beautiful bike that was too. So versatile, so much lighter than mine, so much power. I remember the first time I took it for a ride. Wow, I was so impressed with the power, the acceleration, and the versatility of that bike comparing to my heavy Softail. But then, as I said in another of my videos, around the year 2010, the situation started getting difficult in Greece. There was a financial crisis. It affected construction, and then it affected my business, and then it affected my marriage. So together with all that, soon it was time for the bikes to go. I decided to move to Canada, but this time not for studies. This time to make a brand new start and a brand new life. Anyway, I came to Canada in 2014, and there was no way I was going to stay without a bike. But obviously, just like a man that makes a brand new beginning in life, I couldn't afford it initially. At least I couldn't afford the bike that I wanted. I could go get a used bike and pay a few $1,000s so I can at least roll, but that's not what I wanted to do. I waited, I worked hard, I was patient, and then when the opportunity revealed itself, I decided that I was ready to finance a bike and choose the bike of my dreams, which is the one that I'm riding right now. So there we go. I'm very happy to say that I am riding the bike of my dreams. So this was my quick little story about how motorcycles came into my life. The best part about all this is that I pretty much don't have the slightest idea about where the heck I am right now. I'm gonna have to find my way out of here, and I'm gonna see you boys and gals later. That's what they say. The best thing is to get lost on a motorcycle, right? Yeah. So until we talk again, you be safe, be happy, and thank you so much for watching. Meanwhile, take care of yourselves. BigBadWolfMoto out.